Today is Tuesday, May 27th. Today I went to the Diddy trial. It was day one for me, but the trial has been going on since May 12th. And it's in the federal court of New York. Diddy, it's the United States v. Sean Combs, and Diddy is currently facing charges of sex trafficking, racketeering, conspiracy, and transportation to engage in prostitution. So I missed all the testimony of the first 2 weeks. I went today and caught the testimony of a woman named Capricorn Clark, who had been Diddy's assistant from 2004, and before that she had been his friend for 2 years, according to her testimony today. So, you know, it's very, very convoluted. The testimony today went in circles, and there were a lot of characters, and it was a little bit like switching on Law and Order 20 minutes in and trying to figure out what the heck is going on. So I arrived at 10:30 because I was at jury duty around the corner, and I managed to postpone my jury duty. So I'm going to do my very level best to keep this brief and just to keep it high level and not confuse you, because there was so much detail and so much rehashing the same scenarios just to get to the truth. So when I arrived at 10:30, Capricorn was in the middle of describing a very violent scene that she had allegedly witnessed at Kid Cudi's house. Kid Cudi testified last week. Kid Cudi had apparently been having a relationship with Cassie Ventura behind Diddy's back, and Diddy and Cassie were an item. So let's call this the 2011 alleged kidnapping scene, where that involved Diddy showing up at 5 or 6 in the morning at Capricorn's house in LA, pointing a gun or waving a gun at her and forcing her into his Escalade, to take her up to the Hollywood Hills to Kid Cudi's house, where where Cassie was allegedly staying and had spent the night, even though Cassie was Diddy's girl. So she didn't want to go. She went. They arrived, she said, around 6:30 outside of Kid Cudi's house in the hills. Stop. Diddy gets out, and she calls Lauren London. Lauren London, I didn't know this. I asked a girl sitting next to me, who's Lauren London? Lauren London was Nipsey's partner when Nipsey got murdered. Remember, Nipsey was a rapper who got killed a couple of years ago, and may God rest his soul. And so she called Lauren while Diddy was at the door, and to tell her where she was for her own safety. So she was scared, obviously, and the lawyer for the defense, Mark Agnifilo, said, "Why did you call her and not Cassie?" She said, "For my own safety." So then there was some controversy over whether she called. There was a 3-way call between her, Lauren London, and Cassie, or if she called Cassie directly to warn her that Diddy's on the way in and he's got a gun. What happened that day was he got into Kid Cudi's house. He was cursing at everybody, threatening everybody, allegedly, and then kicked the SHIT out of Cassie. Kicked her in her back, did not use his hands, and kicked her so many times that she ended up 20 feet away from where he found her. So he started by the courtyard and kicked her literally to the street. So that was the first instance of alleged instance of kidnapping. No, it was not the first, but the first we heard about today. Then the second instance was after, in 2004 2004, after Capricorn started working with Diddy, they had already been friends. She had been living in the Bronx, and one of her roommates was already friends with Diddy and introduced her, and they quickly became a clique. So they became the Sean, Jeanette, the girl, the other friend, Capricorn clique. They did everything together. And Monster.com facilitated Capricorn becoming Diddy's assistant just by some fluke. So she uploaded her resume to Monster.com. Recruiter called her. She figured out it was for Diddy. She called him. He said okay, and then they started working together. But when she started working with Diddy, he was on Broadway in A Raisin in the Sun, and she was super impressed with him because she said he was like an ideas man, and he knew how to execute his ideas, and she was a college dropout, and she said she felt like working with Diddy was like going to business school because he was so impressive and a man of action. Which is true. Like, you know, he's always been that way, regardless of these charges. You know, he had Sean John, he had Bad Boy Records, you know, he was in the movies. So, anyway, 2004, P. Diddy also had this idea to do a vote or die initiative. And during his 2004, I think it was 2000, it could have been 2005, but 2004, let's say 2004, Hampton's White Party, he celebrated the vote or die initiative. At that party, apparently, Capricorn was in charge of some jewelry that was on loan to Diddy by a big jeweler, and the jewelry went missing. And so the next week, according to Capricorn's testimony, she was locked into the office and subjected to 5 days worth of lie detector tests, her and the stylist. So that was the first instance of alleged kidnapping post the White Party in East Hampton, and where this jewelry had gone missing. And the next week in Manhattan at their offices at 1440 Broadway, she said she was locked in, and the results of those multiple lie detector tests were inconclusive. And so she painted a story of, like, you know, a back and forth. She loved her job. She got great benefits of getting more and more responsibility and moving around in the company, and ultimately being responsible for Cassie's career and her marketing her career and her branding. And when Cassie was first with Sean's Bad Boy Entertainment, she was just an artist, and it was fine. But later on, when she became the girlfriend, the power dynamics apparently changed. That, coupled with Cassie's alleged increased drug use, matched by Diddy's alleged increased drug use, created this kind of emotionally volatile, ever-shifting sands in the corporate culture, where which was infused by, like, a lot of emotion. They cared for each other. There was a lot of emotion. So it was really very complicated. I have pages and pages of notes. But after the 2012 alleged kidnapping, that's when things went really south between Diddy and Capricorn. And apparently, Diddy blamed Capricorn for not telling him about the relationship between his girlfriend Cassie and Kid Cudi. And in 2015, even, Capricorn wrote an email to Diddy saying, you let everybody else back in, but you didn't let me back in. Dude, let it go. And so she was, like, fighting for her place back in Diddy's company, to be able to work with him and to use what she called her core competency. So she also talked about the fact that this whole experience kind of put the kibosh on her career. She hasn't worked properly in the music industry since 2012, even though she left Bad Boy under a settlement agreement that was included a mutual non-disparagement clause, which means that neither party can speak badly about the other, and that Diddy had to give Capricorn a glowing recommendation anytime she needed it. So she said she's been fighting since 2012, and she just wanted to work and provide for her son. It came out eventually a couple of times that her son is autistic, and that she just wants to work, and the stakes are higher for her. So, it's the charges that Diddy faces, and although I'm not a criminal lawyer, I do know that you have to match the facts to the elements of the crime or crimes, the alleged crimes. Capricorn's testimony does not really speak to any of the crimes. They just paint a picture of Diddy's alleged character, which is characterized by maybe a violent temper, angry temper, and alleged drug use, and holding a grudge. So anyway, tomorrow, I'm not sure if I'm going to go back to the court tomorrow, but this was, really interesting tutorial for me as a transactional lawyer to see the amount of work and concentration that goes into, cross-examining and direct questioning a witness on the stand, the amount of work that goes in, the amount of how nimble you have to be intellectually to be able to respond on the spot, to think on your feet, to respond to the judge's orders, to respond to the counterparty's orders, to respond to the witness. So really hats off to the criminal lawyers who do this, because it's rigorous. It's not like sitting at your desk and battling it out over a computer with a counterpart who's sitting in another office somewhere else, where you can take your time. This is like high stakes Shakespearean stuff. And the jury who's going to have to adjudicate this matter at the end of the trial are going to have to match the facts with the elements of the crime to demonstrate that Diddy is either guilty or innocent. We won't know until the end, and then indeed it's the jury who will adjudicate that and determine that. So again, it was super interesting to be down there. The court is filled with so many YouTubers, journalists, members of the public who are super engaged, people who have idolized Diddy, some people who are very upset and yelling outside of 500 Pearl Street. And we'll see. But this was interesting for me. It was emotionally intense and clearly very difficult for Capricorn Clark, who I'm sure when she started working for Bad Boy Entertainment in 2004 had no idea that in 2025 she'd be sitting in a court testifying in Diddy's trial. Okay, so I have no judgment about what I heard today. I just tried to report it to you neutrally, just to speak to the facts, to share with you what I heard. And again, I don't have a dog in this fight. I'm just a transactional lawyer trying to understand what it's like to be a criminal lawyer in this very riveting case. Thank you and good night.